my name is Kelsey. I'm 31. And the moment I opened that email, I felt something inside me go still. Not break, not burn, just freeze. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind where the sky looks colorless, like even the sun didn't feel like showing up. I was still half awake when the notification popped up. Sender, Kenneth Carter, my father, the man whose approval I had chased like a shadow for 3 decades. Subject line, winery access. Cold, blunt, corporate. The email itself? Even colder. We have changed all the locks at the winery and reset the financial access codes. We no longer trust you. No greeting, no explanation, no love, dad, just a digital execution order. I stared at the screen long enough for the morning coffee in my hand to go cold. But my hands? They didn't shake. People think betrayal feels like an explosion. It doesn't. Sometimes it feels like a perfectly cut diamond, sharp, quiet, final. I typed my reply slowly, deliberately. Noted, but I believe you forgot one thing. 9 words. Not anger, not defense, just precision. And that's when everything inside me clicked into place, like a safe door sealing shut. You ever spend your whole life holding your family together, only to be accused of tearing it apart? If you have, you already know. The pain hits different when the knife comes with your last name on it. But here's the thing. This lockout wasn't the beginning. It was the final chapter of a story they thought I'd never tell. No, this started 4 years ago, with a phone call I should have let ring. My father's voice, normally booming and full of ego, came through the phone thin and shaky. Kelsey, sweetheart, we have a serious problem. That alone was suspicious. My family didn't do vulnerability, not unless it was strategic. I was a financial analyst, the numbers girl, the practical one, the daughter who was useful, not adored. My brother Tyler, he was the brand, the golden child, the heir to the Carter family legacy winery in Napa Valley. The same heir who nearly failed out of college, but graduated with a perfect smile and a dream the family worshipped. And behind that dream, disaster. Bad investments, ridiculous vanity projects, contracts unpaid, a foreclosure notice quietly waiting under a stack of unopened envelopes. The Carter legacy was 1 billing cycle away from becoming Carter liquidation. Please, my father whispered, we can't go to the banks. It'll ruin the name. We need you, Kelsey. Just for a little while, you can be our anonymous angel. Angel. That word would come back to haunt me. I looked around my tiny rented apartment. I wasn't swimming in money. I wasn't some silent billionaire. I was just a woman desperate to finally be seen as part of the family she had spent her whole life serving. And so I said yes. I agreed to send $6,500 every month, an amount that would crush most young professionals. But I did it without hesitation, because they called me an angel, because they made me believe the family's survival depended on me, because for the first time, they needed me. And I mistook need for love. The first payment was supposed to be temporary, a one-time rescue, a bridge until the next harvest season. At least that's what they promised. But temporary solutions in my family had a way of becoming permanent expectations. Months passed, then a year, then 2. And every dollar I sent felt like carving pieces off myself and handing them over with a shaky smile. I didn't complain. I didn't question. I didn't dare ask where the money was actually going. Because whenever I opened my mouth to even hint at boundaries, my father would say the same thing. You're doing this for the family name. When the winery rises again, we rise together. Except together was always code for behind Tyler. There was a night. The night everything truly shifted. When my father called again, I was sitting at my kitchen table surrounded by spreadsheets and overdue bills of my own. He didn't even ask how I was. He rarely did. There's a little shortage again this month, sweetheart. Just a little. Can you help? I exhaled, tired down to the bones. Dad, I'm already sending almost everything I make. He chuckled like I had told a joke. Kelsey, your brother is fighting for this family's future. Help him. You're good with numbers. You'll figure it out. I remember staring at my bank app afterward, realizing something brutal. My future didn't matter to them. Only his did. But I still transferred the money. The breaking point, though, the line I never expected to cross, came 27 months into this secret support system. I was reviewing an unrelated investment report at work when I saw something that made my throat tighten. A purchase under the Carter Winery name. A large one. A stupid one. $37,000 for a brand partnership launch party in Miami?
Tyler. It had to be Tyler, the man who barely made it to his own shift sober. The man who slept through harvest season but posted inspirational quotes about entrepreneur life on Instagram. I stared at the receipt. My money. My sacrifice. His party. I closed my laptop and caught myself whispering a tiny, embarrassed sentence into the empty office. What am I doing? And for the first time since this nightmare started, the question didn't feel rhetorical. A week later, I took vacation time, drove to Napa, and walked into the winery unannounced. The building looked the same, warm lights, polished wood, the smell of grapes and earth, but the energy felt off. Workers glanced at me, then away, like I wasn't family anymore, like I had become a stranger haunting my own home. My father was in the tasting room with a group of investors, laughing too loudly. My mother stood next to him, clutching her gold bracelet like a rosary. She froze when she saw me. "Kelsey, why are you here?" I smiled, too calmly. "To look at the books." Her face drained. "You don't need to do that." But I did. Because something wasn't adding up. Because the math I had trusted for years suddenly felt like a trap. My father pulled me aside, whispering angrily, "You can't barge in here. You'll embarrass us." "Then tell me the truth." His jaw tightened, that familiar flinch he did whenever someone challenged him. "Don't act like this. You're overreacting." Overreacting. A word that had been used to shut me up since childhood. I walked past him, straight into the office, and opened the financial binder. What I found wasn't just bad spending. It wasn't just mismanagement. It was fraud. Contracts forged, loan applications falsified, expenses that didn't exist, payments routed through accounts I'd never heard of. And the biggest shock? My name. On documents I never signed. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. They didn't just take my money. They used my identity, my credit, my good standing, to bury their mistakes. I remember running my finger over one signature, my signature, but not mine. A shaky imitation of the way I wrote my K. Not enough to fool me, but enough to fool a bank. The office door slammed behind me. Tyler stood there, flushed and furious, like he had been waiting for this moment. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I held up the papers. "Explain this?" His jaw clenched. "You said you were helping us. This is helping. Don't make this ugly." "Ugly? You forged my name on a loan application for $280,000? He didn't deny it. He didn't even look ashamed. He just said, "We needed it." My voice cracked. "So, you stole it from me." Tyler stepped closer, lowering his voice. "It's not stealing when it's family." I will never forget the feeling I had in that moment, like I was dissolving, fading, realizing I had spent my life feeding a machine that would drain me dry and still ask why I didn't give more. I left the winery that day without saying another word. But the silence wasn't surrender. It was calculation, and calculation was my strength. That night, I pulled every financial record I could access: bills, statements, emails, contracts. I built a digital map of every lie they had told. And somewhere around midnight, when I was knee-deep in numbers and heartbreak, I found something that made me sit up straight. A filing, a change of ownership document, signed by my father. He transferred every asset of the winery into Tyler's name. Everything, even the parts I funded. My mother's signature was on it too, another obvious forgery. Thin, shaky, rushed. They didn't just use me, they erased me. But what they didn't know was that I kept records. All of them. Every transfer, every call, every payment, every message. And I was about to use them. The next morning, I walked into my office like a woman carrying a detonator. I didn't tell anyone what I'd discovered. I didn't slam doors or cry in bathroom stalls or call friends to vent. I did what I had always done best. I gathered data. Clean, undeniable, irrefutable data. Evidence so precise it could slice through every lie my family had built like silk. I spent days gathering everything. Every receipt, every transfer, every email requesting money, every phone call where they promised to pay me back, every document with my forged signature. I compiled it all into a locked file labeled simply Truth. But the real turning point came when I reached out to an independent auditor, someone with no ties to Napa, no ties to my family, and absolutely no reason to protect their reputation. His name was Marcus. He was calm, methodical, and spoke with the kind of patience usually reserved for surgeons or saints. He reviewed the files for 3 days. When he called me back, his voice carried that low, heavy tone that only accompanies bad news. "Kelsey, I don't know how to tell you this, but what your family did isn't just mismanagement, it's fraud. Large-scale, multi-year, deliberate fraud." I closed my eyes. I know. And the forged signatures? It's identity theft. I know that too. And the money you sent them? It's gone, I whispered. He paused. Worse. It was reclassified as taxable income, under your name. My stomach turned. Meaning, you owe the IRS. A lot. I didn't speak. I couldn't. I felt something inside my chest tighten to the point of pain. While my family was sipping wine and smiling for Instagram photos about legacy, I was unknowingly being set up for a financial execution. Marcus continued carefully, "But there is a way out. If you authorize me, I can start a forensic audit and file a formal dispute. We'll prove they illegally used your identity." I didn't hesitate. Do it. The next step was confrontation. Real confrontation. The kind you can't walk away from without burning every bridge, even the rotten ones. I drove back to Napa on a Thursday afternoon. I remember the sky being unnaturally blue, the kind of blue that makes the world look innocent, even when you know it isn't. I walked into the winery unannounced again, but this time I wasn't the fragile daughter trying to help. I was the woman holding the truth like a loaded weapon. My father, mother, and Tyler were all there. Perfect. My father looked annoyed instantly. My mother looked timid. And Tyler? He smirked. "What now?" he muttered. I placed a folder on the table. The same folder that held copies of every document they forged, every dollar they took, every lie they told. My father scoffed. "What is this, Kelsey? Another tantrum?" I didn't blink. "It's proof." Tyler rolled his eyes. "Of what? That you helped us? Congrats." "No," I said quietly. "Proof that you stole from me. Used my name, used my identity, and put me in debt for your mistakes." He laughed, actually laughed, a bitter, mocking sound. "You're being dramatic." Marcus stepped out from behind me.
Because I didn't come alone. My father's face drained. My mother gasped. Tyler's smirk vanished. Marcus introduced himself calmly, placing his briefcase on the table. I've been authorized to begin a forensic audit of Carter Family Winery effective immediately. My father exploded. You went outside the family? Are you insane? I didn't flinch. I protected myself. You should have done the same. Tyler scoffed. You can't do this. You're overreacting. There's that word again. Overreacting. Funny how only liars use it. Marcus spread the documents across the table. These signatures were forged. The accounts were rerouted. The loans were taken under her credit. This is a criminal matter. My mother finally spoke, voice shaking. Kelsey, sweetheart, we didn't mean for it to go this far. I turned to her slowly. You signed documents in my name. She whispered, I thought my father knew what he was doing. That sentence hit harder than any insult Tyler had ever thrown at me. Cowardice disguised as loyalty. My father slammed his hand on the table. Enough, you wouldn't have anything without us. We built this legacy. We are the Carters. No, I said. You built an illusion, and you expected me to fund it forever. Tyler muttered, You're ruining everything. I leaned in. I'm not ruining anything. I'm revealing it. And that's when my father said the one sentence that broke any last piece of daughter left inside me. If the winery collapses because of you, don't come crawling back. You are no longer part of this family. The room went silent. My mother looked away. Tyler folded his arms. My father waited for me to beg him to reconsider. But I didn't. Because he had just freed me. I quietly collected the documents, placed them back in the folder, and stood tall.
I'm not coming back, I said softly. Not now. Not ever. When I walked out of that winery, I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel broken. I felt clean. Like I had finally stepped out of a prison I didn't know I was in. That night, I authorized every legal step necessary. The audit, the fraud case, the identity theft dispute, the tax reclassification. It would take months. It would cost money. It would force my family to finally face the consequences they spent years avoiding. But it didn't matter, because I finally understood something. I wasn't the villain in their story. I was the escape route in mine. And I was finally using it. The moment the truth broke open, everything in my life shifted, fast, messy, and louder than I ever imagined. I thought exposing my mom's identity scam would bring closure, maybe even justice. But instead, it detonated. I woke up the next morning to a phone vibrating so hard it nearly fell off the nightstand. Texts, missed calls, emails. People I hadn't heard from in years suddenly remembered my name. Some were supportive. Some were not. But the real storm hit when I saw her face, my mother, plastered on every news outlet. Not the warm, smiling woman she pretended to be. No, this version looked cornered, furious, and somehow still trying to flip the narrative. She claimed I was confused. She claimed I misunderstood. She claimed it was all love, all sacrifice, all for my future. And then she said the most unhinged line I've ever heard in my life. My daughter owes me her success. I only took what I already earned. My phone slipped out of my hand. I couldn't breathe. Owe her? For what? For draining my accounts? For stealing my credit? For using my identity to cash a $3 million life insurance policy on a man I didn't even know existed? Yeah, sure, Mom. Totally reasonable.
Days blurred together. Police interviews, bank investigations, insurance interrogations that felt like I was on trial for my own existence. And through it all, I kept wondering, does she regret it? Does she feel even 1 ounce of guilt? Or is she just mad she got caught? Every time those questions crawled into my head, I'd open the folder she tried so hard to hide. The receipts, the emails, the forged signatures. The truth was right there, in black and white. My mother didn't make a mistake. She built a blueprint. She executed a plan. And she expected me to be silent, obedient, grateful. But I wasn't that kid anymore. One evening, after hours of statements and paperwork, the lead investigator looked me dead in the eye and said, "You know, victims rarely fight back at this scale. Most protect the parent. You didn't." I didn't know whether to feel proud or broken. Because here's the part no one talks about. When the villain is a stranger, it's easy to fight. When the villain is the woman who tucked you in at night, it destroys you. But pain taught me something I never expected. You can't heal in silence, and you definitely can't heal under someone else's shadow. I had spent years believing I owed her everything, but standing in those offices, telling the truth out loud, I realized she was the one who owed me something. Honesty, love, safety, basics she traded away for a payout with my name on it. That night, I wrote down the sentence that changed everything for me. I'm allowed to choose myself. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't poetic, just real. Choosing myself meant releasing the fantasy version of my mother so I could finally face the real one. And with that decision came clarity. If someone is willing to burn your entire life down for money, you can't save them. You can only save yourself. The day the verdict came down was colder than usual. Not weather cold, a different kind. A silence in your bones kind. I sat in the back of the courtroom, hands clasped tight, trying to stop them from shaking. Not because I feared the outcome, but because I still couldn't believe this was real. My mother, my own mother, sat across the room in a gray suit that didn't match the fire in her eyes. She didn't look at me. Not once. The judge read through the charges: fraud, identity theft, insurance deception, forgery, financial manipulation. Each one felt like a chapter in a book I never wanted to be.
Then came the line that closed the final page: guilty on all counts. Her reaction? Nothing. No tears. No apology. No glance toward the daughter whose life she tried to erase for a $3 million payday. Just a stiff jaw and the faintest look of annoyance, like I had inconvenienced her. When it was done, I walked outside into a swarm of reporters, microphones, cameras, flashing lights. Everyone wanted a quote. Everyone wanted drama. Everyone wanted a daughter versus mother headline. But I didn't give them any of that. All I said was, I didn't expose her to punish her. I exposed her to protect myself. Then I walked away. Not triumphant, not broken, just free. In the weeks that followed, my life rebuilt itself in slow, uneven steps. Banks reversed fraudulent charges. The insurance companies cleared my name. My credit score crawled back to life like a plant, getting sunlight for the first time in years. And me? I started breathing again. I didn't realize how long I'd been living in fight or freeze mode until peace felt unfamiliar. Healing wasn't pretty. Some days I woke up angry. Some days I missed the version of my mother who never really existed. Some nights I questioned whether speaking up was worth it. But every time doubt crept in,
I remembered the one truth I couldn't ignore. Silence protects the abuser, not the victim. And I was done protecting people who would never protect me. Months later, I sat at a cafe with a friend. She slid her phone across the table and whispered, "Have you seen this?" On the screen was a blog post titled, "Daughter Exposes $3 million Scam, a Masterclass in Courage." I didn't feel proud, or famous, or heroic. I just felt seen. For the first time in my life, my story wasn't twisted, minimized, or stolen. It was mine. Every messy, painful, empowering piece. There's something people don't tell you about breaking generational cycles. It's not glamorous. It's not cinematic. It's not some dramatic movie moment. It's lonely. It's terrifying. It's choosing to be the first person in your bloodline to stop letting harm hide behind the word family. But it's worth it, because when I finally stepped out of the shadow of the woman who tried to take everything from me, I realized something powerful. I didn't lose a mother. I gained myself, and no amount of money, 3 million or 30, can ever compare to that. In the end, this wasn't a story about fraud or money or revenge. This was a story about reclaiming your name, your voice, your identity. And if someone out there is watching this, stuck in that same quiet hurt I once lived in, here's the final truth I learned. You don't owe loyalty to the person who broke you. You owe loyalty to the person you're becoming. And that person deserves peace.